Welcome to the Luminary Lounge, where we sit down with people who have lived extraordinary lives and learned lessons the rest of us can use. Today's guest is someone who spent 36 years defending India at sea and then took everything he learned about leadership, crisis, and courage into the corporate world. Commodore G. Prakash grew up in rural Kerala, went through Sainik school and National Defense Academy, and became an anti-submarine warfare specialist and aviator in the Indian Navy. He commanded 3 warships, the INS Ajay, INS Taragiri, and the INS Tir, and led the first training squadron that shapes young naval officers today. He also commanded 4 major naval establishments, including INS Venduruthi, the largest base in Indian Navy. During the 2004 tsunami, while commanding the INS Taragiri, he led relief operations in Sri Lanka, coordinating ships, helicopters, medical teams, and local authorities to save lives during those critical days. At Naval Headquarters in Delhi, he helped shape the future of naval aviation strategy. And at the Maritime Warfare Center in Kochi, he worked on the doctrines that keep India's waters secure. After retiring with the Nausena Medal for Distinguished Service, he became VP and head of Odisha Works at Nava Limited, a multinational in power and ferroalloys, running everything from operations to supply chain to community relations. Today, he's a consultant, mentor, and speaker on leadership, strategy, and national security, teaching at armed forces colleges, universities, and corporate boardrooms across India. So whether you're choosing a career, leading a team, or just trying to build resilience in tough times, or just being a better you, this conversation is for you. Commodore G. Prakash, we welcome you and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, ma'am. Absolute pleasure being with you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So you grew up in rural Changanur and went through Sainik School, Karakutam, and the National Defense Academy. What from that journey shaped your decision to join the Navy? Could you take us through those early formative years?
Many times in life, you just land up in places because of circumstances. Today, a 3-star fighter pilot from the Ethos can, retire and maybe claim that he always wanted to fly like a bird and all. Mm-hmm. Well, if you go back into reality, maybe he joined the Ethos because of some other reason. I will tell you, I'll allude to it. Say, when we study in Sainik school, when we come to the stage at which we had to write the exam for the NDA, there are 3 choices in those days: Army, Navy, Air Force. Now, everyone is practical. We just want to get in. Now, the Army has got maximum number of seats, 220 or so in my days. And then in Navy had about 45 or so. And the Air Force had about 50 or 60 or something like that. So your chances of getting into the Army was even better, higher. Right. So we all choose Army first. Okay. Now, so I landed up like that in Allahabad for my first Services Selection Board interview with Army as my choice.
Oh, okay.
I failed. So I came back to school. After 6 months, now you apply the next course. Now, if you apply for the same course, you don't get a free ticket. When you go for this interview, you get a free ticket. So when I went to Allahabad and came back, I had a free ticket. Now, if I choose Army again, I won't get a free ticket. So I chose Navy. So I passed this time. So probably if I had failed, maybe 3rd time for the ticket, I would have become an Air Force officer.
Oh, I see. Very interesting. So that's how it shapes your future.
Yes. It's not in your hand.
Just the free tickets shape your future.
It's just a free ticket.
Very interesting. But then Navy, armed forces were your choice, right?
Yes.
And you didn't have any qualms about getting into either Navy or Army or,
they're absolutely
Air Force.
The same.
It's not like you wanted to be a fighter pilot or you wanted to be in the seas.
No. The First and Second World Wars were the first ever massive movement of people, material, destruction, everything in the industrial age, right?
Right.
Now that taught a lot of lessons about military leadership in the modern era, in the industrial era. You may recollect the Charge of the Light Brigade, the famous poem, I think it's by Tennyson, where, some 400 people on horseback ordered by a general to go into machine guns and they all get mowed down. Now, it's a very sad story. That's because the leadership of the time, which was, they were not, they had nothing to do with the troops. They didn't understand them. Right? So they ordered them into stuff which they themselves have not done. Now, after the Second World War, in Europe and in America, they came up with this system of now picking up children from all across the spectrum of society, chosen for certain attributes, basic intelligence and certain qualities and medical standards and all that thing, and then put them in the schools at a young age, in military schools, where they just simply given an exposure to life in the armed forces. It's managed by service officers, and they somehow are mentally, they are encouraged to become service officers. That becomes their ultimate motivation. So you don't have any preference, you have no quota, you're not assured of any selection. It is just that in that school, they try to put blinkers on you so that you see only armed forces. I will actually tell you a story. There was, the others who don't come to the armed forces, they do very well outside. Right. I know of someone who became a very, very successful civil servant. Now, he once from high school. So obviously, he didn't go to the army. He went to civil services, and he came once to school in the Old Boys Association. He came very proudly because he's doing very well in the civil services. And one of the old teachers met him there. He said, aren't you so-and-so? He said, yes, sir. Where are you now? He said, sir, I whatever was his position in the civil services. He said, you had failed the army exam, no? He said, he was destroyed. He was doing so well. But the teacher actually spoke like that because that was the aim of the school. It's just that we just wanted to go there. That's how that school nurtured us in 8 years.
Right. I just was wondering, in Sainik school, do you get, for example, in our medicine school, right, we have exposure to various specialties as well. So in Sainik school, you do have exposure to all the three,
See, what happens is that the school's principal, headmaster and registrar, now it's called an administrative officer, these three are serving Army, Navy, officers. That is the first thing. So when we joined the school, class at the age of 9, class 5, we were first mustered and spoken to by a Sikh gentleman, Major Prakash Singh, and he's the first one we saw. Imagine, that's the first sight. And what he spoke that day is still live with me, because he said, please learn to fail. He is the one who told us, learn to fail here. Welcome to Sainik school. Learn to fail. Right. If you mostly in life, you're going to fail. Every day you're going to have disappointments. He said, you play more. You will learn to fail. Right. How to handle failure. Okay, so that is major.
And eventually you'll get used to it.
It gets used to it. You would know not to be disappointed. Look at it. Now, so when the school is managed by them, that ethos is there. Secondly, there is NCC there. I think class 7 or class 8, we start NCC, Army, Navy, Air Force. So we do that also. And you're in military uniform. They bring cadets who have passed out of our school and become service officers. They come back every year for the annual day. And they come to you, they come in uniform, they speak to you. I mean, the whole place is beautifully, managed to ensure that the aim of the school stays absolutely in the focus of everyone.
Literally pick up a lot of patriotism, discipline, and resilience and toughness right at the beginning, right? In your fundamental years.
Yeah, okay. Right? Now, I will just take out one out. I agree with you, but I'll take out one word for a little treatment. That's the patriotism part. Okay, I will tell you. It's like this. When we join when we come out of our academies, whether it's the Army, Navy, Air Force, the ultimate dictum for you, which sets the tone for your entire service, is this. 3 advices. First one, your service comes first. Your men come next. You come last. Right. That's the ethos. Right. Okay. Now let's just go back to how this thing starts at the school level. In the school, you are part of a house or dormitory. And then you have life and death competitions. And so I was from the Shivaji house. For 8 years of my life, I was willing to die for the name of Shivaji. Whether it's a football match or whether it's a hockey game or whether it's boxing or you name it. I was willing to die for that. Then I joined NDA, National Defense Academy. I joined the India Squadron. There are squadrons, A, B, C, D, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta. So I joined India Squadron, I. Now, I was willing to now die for the India Squadron, right? Okay. From there, you come to the service. Now, whichever unit you go to, you're willing to die for that. So it's very normal to find a sailor or an officer, cheering wildly at a football match or something, saying, up, Gomti, up, Gomti, because he is on INS Gomti. You will find the same fellow next day hollering at the top of his voice for up Vikrant, up Vikrant, because now he's got transferred to NS Vikrant. Now imagine, so here it is, loyalty to your unit.
Yes.
It is the izzat of your unit. So no one is saying, up India or up Navy. It doesn't work like that. So in our case, our patriotism or duty, sense of honor, everything comes for the unit. Now, if every unit, everyone in every unit has this ethos, country can't ask for anything more.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the word patriotism, I keep telling young audiences, it's very easy, very important to be a patriot, but it's so easy to be a patriot. All you have to do is to just do your job well. For a teacher, just teach well. For a driver, just drive safely. For a student, just study properly. Yeah. You're good enough a patriot. Yeah. Okay, and for the other things that you said, the resilience and all that thing, yes, that was an amazing thing that we got there.
Toughness as well.
Absolutely, because it was a relentless life, routine from you're woken up about 5 in the morning till about 10:30 at night. You don't know whether you're coming or going, and there's so much of activity packed into it, and that it's just one blur, those 8 years. But then you see that when you come to the National Defense Academy, which is even a tougher place, you can actually navigate through it because you've already had that 8 years of conditioning. Right. So many people who don't go through these things, generally run away from there because it's very
Would you say your lifestyle was good in those years? Like you would have regular sort of disciplined meals, at timely meals and a good sleep hygiene. All that was still, a very important part of it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. We had, the routine is very interesting. 5 o'clock get up, 5:45 you have a tea in the mess. Then you go for PT. 6 to 7 is PT. And then you come back and they got 3 periods before breakfast. Imagine at that age, you've done so much, but you're not eaten. Your stomach is growling. You come back to the dormitory, take bath, change into school uniform, go for breakfast, then march to school.
Breakfast was at 9?
Breakfast at about 9 o'clock. Yeah, 8:30 to 9. And then you march in a squadron to the school, sit down and sit in classes. I think we got a lime juice or something like that in one of the breaks. And then you march back for lunch. After lunch, you have 2 hours of free time. And during which time you can go to the library, you can do what you want. And then in the evening, compulsory, 4 o'clock you get tea with some small snack. And from 4:30 to 6 o'clock, it's compulsory games. In a school like my school, and all the old Sainik schools had plenty of land. So we had, every kid could play a game at the same time. You can't imagine a school with 6 football fields and 6 hockey fields and 2 cricket fields and enough volleyball, basketball fields, and everyone could play. Then you come back, take bath, then sit down for night studies on your own, self-study and all that homework and all that thing. 8:30 go for dinner, come back, 10:30 is lights out. And this goes on and on and on. Now, boys are boys. It's a boys' school. It's a boarding school. So you naturally would do other things also. There was 300 acres of a coconut plantation. So we all knew which coconuts gave the best fruit, and we knew how to climb and pluck coconuts, and they're not allowed, it is not legal. But then you do a lot of learning is beyond books.
So the lifestyle there, obviously the lifestyle you learned there was for lifetime, right?
Absolutely.
Which kind of taught you, how to handle hunger and, maybe...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And the teachers. I must put in a word for teachers because every Sainik school student will speak to will talk about their teachers. Our teachers made us what we are because our teachers, they were called as masters, they were known as teachers. And our housemasters who lived with us would have their breakfast, lunch and dinner with us. They didn't eat at their homes. They would eat with us what we got. And a lot of other things. If stories come up, I'll tell you.
Lovely, sir. Very interesting indeed. So how does a young boy in a Sainik school develop a sense of duty and love for the country, which you've already alluded to, but was there a moment or a person who made it real for you?
Not really.
In your family?
Really. Not
anybody
really.
who's already in the armed forces or,
No. Actually, I didn't choose the school. My father chose for me. We had a lovely, happy childhood back in Changanur. Fantastic, happy childhood. And one fine day I was taken to write an exam. I just wrote the exam. I came second rank in the state. So I came to the school. I came like a big star.
So in terms of leadership and command, you've commanded the INS Ajay, INS Taragiri and Tir. and later the INS Venduruthi as a station commander in Kochi. Which command changed you the most as a leader? What would you say about that?
It's like this. I'll give an example which may not be directly applicable, but yeah, it's applicable. Okay, when I had my first son, okay, that's my first experience as a father. When he became 1 year old, that is my first experience as a 1 year old's father. When he joined school, I was first experience as a school-going boy's father. Every day is a new thing, right?
Yeah.
And when my daughter was born, if I thought that I knew everything about fatherhood, I was mistaken. It was wrong. I was never been a second kid's father. I never been a girl's father. See, there are lots of differences. Same way. INS Ajay was a small corvette, a Russian corvette, SW corvette, and I was the commanding officer as in the rank of a lieutenant commander.
Right.
I learned management, I learned leadership at that scale. It had nothing to do with what I saw on a frigate in Taragiri. Now there's a larger, 300 people, largest 122-meter ship, and with a helicopter. Now that's now a different ballgame. Now you are also grown older. You've seen failures and successes. You've seen more seniors and juniors and peers. You've read. You've attended courses. You've evolved slightly more. So, and that experience of Ajay was just one of those parts of that growing up. And you become a commanding officer there. Now suddenly, again years pass. Now you go to Tir, to command Tir. And there, of course, it's a completely different set of experiences. By this time, I had already commanded the base in Vizag, the air base in Vizag. That gives you a completely different dimension of, there you're dealing with civil contractors and civilian authorities and the state government and things like that. So actually, there is nothing, every command in this taught something different. Yeah. And it is just that you kept growing. The Ajay was just the core. One thing I just want to say about, since I've been a VP in a corporate house, a fundamental difference. Now, in the corporate world, people don't actually teach their juniors anything. I am just being practical. If the GM manages to nurture his DGM or AGM very well in a company, in a production company, and that guy becomes almost as good as the GM, the company will throw out the GM and employ the AGM at lesser pay. You're right? Because the bottom lines matter there. Unlike that, in the armed forces, every year, all of us are moving into higher positions. Entire service is moving up. And you know that you cannot perform in your next job unless the bottom is strong, solid. Yeah. There is no profession where we teach juniors so well, so sincerely as the armed forces. We just go out of our way to teach our juniors, because only if they are good, because they will continue to be under you throughout your life. And they will be the stone on which you will be stepping to perform your. Right. And your senior is depending on your solidity to perform. So there is a lot of effort that goes into training people down below. So as I went from command to command, I was growing so that my seniors could perform better. And I was ensuring that my juniors are taught well so that they can continue to perform wherever, at whatever level they reach. That's an amazing system, isn't it? I mean, it's a beautiful system. And that's where the strength of the unit builds, and the loyalty of the unit, and everything matters. Right. So tell us about the time at sea when you had to choose between pushing the mission forward and as against protecting your crew. And what did you decide, and what did it cost you? Something sort of story around that, where you were actually pushing them forward, but at the same time you're trying to protect them as well. Would there be any such story in your... No, there are operational stories which I really wouldn't want to say. For instance, there is I've published that, but not in the civilian world. It's within the armed forces. It's there in it's same INS Ajay. When Ajay was decommissioned, when the ships get decommissioned, a souvenir is brought out. Right, so I have written this in that. We were at one night we were under Diu head. Diu head is with the chin of Gujarat. Yes, got it. Yes. So we're there at night, and there was an exercise going on, and there was some miscommunication, and we discovered that we should be at 5:45 in the morning of Ratnagiri. It was impossible to make it there because the communication, there was some problem, and we had not read it in time, or we had not read it correctly. Now, if I draw a straight line it was impossible to reach Ratnagiri. From Ratnagiri, as part of the exercise, somebody was supposed to move northwards towards Hazira. Hazira is the port, again under Gujarat. Okay. So we decided to now intercept them. That means you can't join them. Yes. But they already set course. You have to intercept them. But to intercept them, I'll have to, at the fastest if I go, I'll have to cut through dangerous waters. The Bombay High is there, So it's a decision I took. I was, this is 1998. I was 35 years old. So I had the recklessness of a 35-year-old who had got the command of a corvette in his hand at that time. I just drew the line and we just dashed through that night. That night I will not forget, because there was danger, because we could have collided into something. We had our radar and all that thing, but at that speed, not rocks, no, craft, unlit craft.
Okay.
Now there are some areas you're not supposed to go through actually, but if operationally required, you're supposed to go. I mean, if you have to, surely as a doctor, you would have seen situations where, you just got to forget everything else and just go. There is no other option. So, though it was only an exercise, but then coming late and saying that, no, I'm sorry, I misread the signal is not an answer.
Yes.
Okay. Failure is a possibility, but not an option. So, we just rushed through. There was danger. And if something had happened, I was responsible. Luckily, nothing happened. I've written about it. It's because today, looking back, I don't think I would have done it on my next ship. I was older. I was more mature. Maybe I wouldn't have done it. It was dangerous. So it's just that. But I didn't mean, at that moment, I'm not thinking of any harm to people or anything like that. We just want to meet our mission. So the fundamental thing is meet your mission.
Important. Yeah.
That's it. This is nothing more very, very, what do you call that, sublime about it. Just do your duty. That's all. There are to audiences, I keep saying that our job is to simply hit the target. Nothing else. You don't have to think, geopolitics and all that thing. Just hit the target at the right time with the right quantity of ammunition. That's all we need to do.
Very straightforward.
Straightforward.
Like a teer.
Yeah.
Right, sir. So, as a senior officer commanding of the 1st Training Squadron, how did you balance discipline with developing young officers into thinking, sort of adaptable leaders? How do you... Because there must be a mix, right? There must be a mix of so many different experience levels and cultural backgrounds and all that. So how did it all pan out? What were your principles? It must have been very interesting to...
It is very interesting, because the 1st Training Squadron is a very unique thing for India. Many countries cannot even afford it.
Okay.
Having a dedicated training squadron. I know very senior, very, very wealthy countries which have ships do multiple functions, one of which is officer training, cadet training.
Okay.
We are still one of the few nations which can afford. We are about 5-6 ships dedicated only for this. Okay. And we take them to almost every port in India in the 6 months that they spent in the squadron, and then to a couple of foreign ports. Because for the Navy, what the world is the map on which they operate. It's not some border or anything like that. There's no borders at sea. So we take them to a couple of foreign ports also. Now, this is, the Americans have a concept of, I think, called semester at sea. There are some civilian institutions which do that. There's a ship which does that, semester at sea. So this is one unique semester at sea. Now, though these officers who come have already come through, say, Sainik schools or whatever, otherwise Naval Academy or the NDA. So they've already been set in a certain ethos.
Right.
Now, this is the place where for the first time, they're going to learn life at sea.
Just out of Sainik school or NDA?
NDA. Not school,
yeah,
NDA, Academy.
Yeah.
Right. NDA or just Naval Academy. NDA or Naval Academy. In the Naval Academy, the naval cadets get commissioned. They are officers. They are equivalent of IAS group, the Group 1 service officers. Okay, but they come here, the first 6 months, the ethos is, they're called sea cadets, they were known as, now they're known as sea trainees. You are supposed to now understand what the sailors do. The sailors below you, soldiers do. Right? You're going to spend 35 years of your life ordering them to paint and chip and brasso and polish and, lug ammunition and fill water and, you name it. Everything on the ship physically has to be done. They do this for 6 months.
Oh, they themselves do it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So to later when you have to tell someone is painting, chipping and painting, you can show him exactly how to do it because you've done it, right, under the same circumstances, and you are at that time looked after by, you are commanded by sailors. They actually control you. Okay. Now that is one part of the curriculum. The other part of the curriculum is to also learn what officers do. That means you also have to stand watch. You have to do navigation. You have to do gunnery. You have to do boat work. The communications. Just about everything that an officer is supposed to do. You must do that also. And on top of that, there is academics. Okay. So it's real tough thing. Now in that, when you come to discipline, since you asked the question about discipline, let me just say this. Discipline is simply a fixed response to a fixed stimulus. That's it. If I tell someone, fire, he should fire. And not ask, sir, exactly where should I fire? Or should we really now, that's not discipline. I say fire, he just fires. He just got an order, he just does it. It's a fixed response to a fixed stimulus, right? Now, they are just taught that. And they would have already been put into that ethos by the academy.
Okay.
And then they've come here. You just reinforce that. There is no, leadership at that level is not upturned mustaches and shouting and bloodshot eyes and then nothing like that. It's very informal, but it's very firm and it's without any scope for, there's no latitude for change, no latitude for interpretation. You just do. So you told this, do that.
It's very protocol.
It's very simple. It's very, very simple. So
just follow protocol.
Yeah, it's all protocol. You just do what you're told to do.
Okay. But then do they also get lessons in other life skills like communication, for example, and how to, behave with their sailors and
of course.
Communication with, let's say, international...
The Services Selection Board, SSB, is the fundamental interview that every officer of the armed forces have to pass before coming in. This you appear either after 12th when they go into the Indian Naval Academy or National Defense Academy, or after graduation if you're going to the Army, Navy, Air Force, the CDS exam and all that. Now that is an interview. It's a very tough interview because you cannot prepare for it. You are looked at by a group of psychologists for about 5 days. Made to do all kind of activities. It's fun activities, individual activities, group activities for 5 days. And they look at you and they just pick up people with certain set of attributes. So normally I think for a week, they call about 140 students, candidates they call, 2 or 3 might pass. That's it. Okay. What they look for in that, communication skills is one of those. Leadership skills, trainability are all important aspects. Because crores are going to be spent on training. And if it's the kind super intelligent variety, you will not listen to anybody. There are many who are brilliant but won't change.
It's chosen by psychologists?
Yes.
Not by officers?
No.
Okay.
Psychologists. So
there's no officer at all in those 5
No, officers. There are trained officers also as psychologists. There are civilian psychologists and officers who have done psychology course. Right. Yeah. It's a big selection.
It's a wonderful way of selecting.
Yeah. And let me tell you this very interesting one. This is probably the first interview any child would, or a young man or girl, woman would appear, face in their lives. And most likely they're going to fail because if you see the kind of numbers that I told you. So lest it should leave a scar in their hearts forever, they announce these results in a very, very beautiful manner. They announce and say that, look, very, very famous people have failed this. For example, Amitabh Bachchan has failed this. Abdul Kalam has failed it. Shah Rukh Khan has failed it. And they say it. They say that here does not mean, failing this does not mean that you're bad. It's just that you won't suit here, you won't fit here. Right?
You have better professions.
You'll have a wonderful future somewhere else. A wonderful future somewhere else. Now, there is also saying that there are 2 professions which you don't pick up to get rich. One is a priest. Second is a service officer. You don't get there to get rich. There has to be an inner calling. And there has to be certain qualities. Otherwise, you will be miserable. When it's finally it's a psychologist, it's a group of human beings. They can make mistakes. So the wrong ones can get selected. But they will get pushed out by the system, or they themselves will exist in the system because they won't be able to take it. Right? So when you say about communications, so it is with these factors chosen that they've gone to the academy. In the academy, they had watched the officers, they're managed completely by officers and Jawans. And they see how they function, how they talk to each other, how they behave, how respect is given, how respect is taken. So they are already in that system when they come to you. They're not some brand new recruiter who's not heard these things. So you just got to reinforce that, for example, when no one spits in an airport because the place is so clean, so pristine that you can't even imagine doing it. Unlike probably a bus stand or a railway station or something, right? So what you have to do is to run your system and keep it so pristine that no one would even think of misbehaving, doing things, they just want to be part of it and be as good as the system. And now taking them abroad and all that thing, they're seeing how you go and interact, how the foreign navy or foreign embassy, how they receive you, how you have functions, you have there are standard interactions, you have a party on board for the local dignitaries organized by the embassy, you go for their reception, you visit their academy, their facilities, they come on board your ship, and a lot of interaction about 4 or 5 days in a couple of countries. And what exposure, beautiful exposure. And the onus is actually on the captain and his main officers to actually be real role models so that the cadets really understand, how life is going to be ahead.
Very interesting indeed. Inspiring as well. So what about things like whistleblowing? I mean, like somebody is picked up something and then, they have to bring it up to the higher, sort of authority or, their higher ranks. This works well as well. Like, I know most of them are trying to, fall into place and all that. But what about if there was a misfit or somebody who's not, let's say, not having the integrity that others have? So is there a process of whistleblowing that can, that happens in the unit? And if so, how are the whistleblowers dealt with? What is the process that happens after that?
I don't know if you've read this book called Difficulty of Being Good.
Yes.
By Gurcharandas.
Yes.
Okay. Now you recollect the first episode of Yudhishthir, right? The son of the god of Dharma. You can't have a more dharmist, righteous man in this world. But he ends up gambling away his wife, his life, his kingdom, his brothers, brings on a catastrophic war. And throughout the Mahabharata, he's full of contradictions.
Yes.
Right? If I remember correctly, he's torn among Swadharma, Kuladharma, and Rajadharma. Yeah, that's correct. Responsibility to himself, responsibility to the family, and responsibility to his position. Now here, self is self. The family is the service. Your unit is a kula. And you have your profession. There are no rights and wrongs. You're in a profession where you may not be in agreement with what you've been asked to do. And you may have situations where you'll have to actually, harm to somebody from your team is a possibility, right? But you still say mission matters. And just as Yudhishthir was navigating through this all the time, based on the circumstances of that moment, that's how the service runs too, right? Okay. Now, as far as integrity and things like that is there, it's like this. I mean, everyone who does not have a blot on him need not be someone who has not done anything wrong. It just has not been caught. Right? So to have those kind of defects, insufficiencies among people in their behavior, in their conduct, is normal, to be expected. If it stands out somewhere, he'll get chopped, but career is over. Right? Now,
high stakes.
Yeah, it's extremely high stakes. I mean, you're careful even drinking. You don't drink beyond two pegs. You don't do that because it can affect your life. It can affect your entire career. And as far as, conduct, if you see something and reporting and all that thing, there are systems for that. But the systems are human systems, right? You never know how a man who's reported to takes the report. So what do you do? So what does the whistleblower, as you say, should do? Okay. You see something, it's your choice to go and tell this to somebody. But when you go to somebody, that somebody should be the prescribed somebody. You cannot go to random people and sell. But you're going to the prescribed person, you should have the sense to evaluate that person to check how is he going to take this. Right? Yeah. So it's just a good human system with all its faults, with all its dreams, all its ideals and all that thing, within which things practical take place. That's true, sir. I mean, I really like the way you brought in difficulty of being good into it. Right? So, what does leading by example actually look like on a ship, on rough seas, or during a crisis? What does leading by example mean in those situations? That's a beautiful question. I will give you a couple of different answers to it. We had gone to Sri Lanka for tsunami relief. In Galle port, everyone except the harbour master was dead. Oh. The harbour master escaped because he had gone to Colombo to meet his family. There was no electricity there. There was no water there. There was nothing there. Now, when we went there, we have now come to help. My commander-in-chief in Cochin, I was a Western Fleet ship, but I was sent to Cochin. I met the Cochin CNC. I loaded up stuff there and then sailed to Gaul. The commander-in-chief, there was a fantastic admiral called Admiral Bangara. Admiral Bangara called me and told me, he was my boss when I was commanding officer of INS Ajay. You see how the system slowly catches up. See, he knew me well as a person. He knew what I am. He just called me to his office and said, GP, go to Gaul, do your best. Everyone is trauma-stricken. So don't expect any help from there. The Tsunami knew no rank. If you need anything, give me a tinkle. Or you speak to Nirupama. That is, Nirupama Rao was the High Commissioner, later Foreign Secretary. She was the High Commissioner there. He said, you speak to Nirupama or you speak to me. Right? And I go there. So do your best is the order. I go there. I meet Admiral Vasanta Tenakun, the CNC of the Southern Command. He's in a place called Buza Camp near Gaul. I go and meet him. Yet another admiral. He says, welcome to Gaul. Please do your best. I mean, what a beautiful set of orders from the man who sent me and the man who received me. Do your best. Now, that means now you are completely at your freedom to do your utmost. Okay, now we come to the ship. The local base there is called SLNS Dakshina, Sri Lankan naval ship Dakshina, like my Bendurutti. Dakshina is the naval base in south. It was completely flattened. Commander Sudarman Silva, still a friend, on WhatsApp every day with me. He was the commanding officer. He barely escaped with his life, and his wife and his 2 children who were visiting from Colombo. They almost died. Now he was with me like a brother for the 15 days I was there. Sudarman's entire establishment was flat. It was gone. His office is destroyed. So I thought, took it upon myself to set up his office first. He's the commanding officer. So I took out my chair, my own chair, captain's chair, and my 3 visitors' chairs and put them on the jetty. I said, go and set up his office. Now, sailors would be asking, what is Captain Saab's chair doing? Everybody, that's the best chair on board the ship. He said, what's it doing on the jetty? And then the rumor spreads, he's giving it to the commanding officer. Now, that's exactly what I think Munna Bhai told in that Munna Bhai MBBS, He tells that Swami, his roommate, that, except my underwear, you can take everything, It's yours.
That's right.
Now, you're conveying that, we have come here to help and we are going to help in every way possible. Now, this is symbolism.
Very symbolic, very symbolic.
This is very beautiful symbolism.
You bring your chair, your own chair.
There is nothing to convey. You don't need blood-curdling speeches. Just go do this much. That's enough.
True. Yeah.
Okay. Now, leadership, you said. I will tell you another great commanding officer of mine called Captain Madan. He was on Gaumati when I was a lieutenant. I was anti-submarine warfare officer on board. And we were out from Bombay for 2 months. Long absence. In those days of no mobile phones and all that, we had not even no clue where our wives were, what our children were doing, nothing. And we were coming back to Bombay. Captain Madan was, though he's Punjabi, he was very anglicized and he couldn't speak much of Hindi and all that thing. And he was an English speaker. We were entering Bombay after 2 months of sailing for Diwali. Now, you know how Diwali is precious for North Indians.
Yes.
Right? And the sailors are just, they're heaven for them. The last 2 months don't matter. The night before entering Bombay, we get a signal that the ship has to spend another 7 days at sea. Something else. Morale on board falls, goes through the keel into the depths of the sea.
Depths of the sea.
And there is absolute gloom on board. Okay. I had never expected this from Captain Madan. Captain Madan told his deputy, his executive officer, muster everybody on the helicopter deck. He came. He stood and made a speech for about 10 minutes. I still remember the title of the speech. He titled it, Fayda hi fayda hai. Fayda hi fayda hai. There are only advantages. And he gave a speech. As he started, there were about 350 angry pairs of eyes looking at him. Within 30 seconds, the eyes were neutral. After 1 minute, the eyes were, now looking on in a bit of wonder. By minute 2, they were laughing. That man gave such a beautiful speech that in this 7 days, we are going to have only advantages. That's one of those contents that I've forgotten exactly what he spoke. But he spoke so well, people are willing to wait for another 7 months in the sea, not just 7 days.
Okay.
I have not seen someone leading like that from the front.
I wonder what he promised them.
He promised nothing, I'm sure. Wouldn't have made one statement which he cannot stand up to, which he cannot honor. But he spoke. Now, in many things, it is, okay, just another example. When you lead from the front, it's not always easy. See, when, again, Gaul, When the ship went at anchorage first, there was another ship in harbor, Navy's ship in harbor,
Okay.
Indian Navy, and I had to relieve that ship. Now, there are only 2 jetties there. On one, a Pakistani ship was there, Pakistani Navy ship was there, Khyber was there, and the other one, our ship was there. Next morning, Khyber would leave, and then the pilot would bring out our ship, and then I would be taken in his place. There is no jetty space there. So I had to go and meet the old commanding officer because I'm taking over from him. I had to go by boat.
Okay.
So now you have to get down. The ship has an anchor.
Right.
I had to get down the boat.
Yeah.
Now this is 2005. 2005 means now I'm 42. Okay. Because of flying and a lot of other things, the neck pain, back pain, knee pain, pains are slowly coming in. And when captain is leaving the ship, it's a ceremonial occasion, and hundreds of chaps are standing on the sides and looking. Now you can't wince when you're going down because it's going to pain. How do you? Okay, so you have to
Really put up a show.
Put up a big show of hi. This is nothing, just going down like that, get into the boat that you can't even rub somewhere, because people are all watching.
Your royal march.
Yeah. No, so I'm sure. See what I'm saying. Thousands of officers do all this. Okay, so leadership is a lot of play acting. Leadership and leading the front and all that thing. You really got to think a bit. In leadership, it's not just that dumbly go along. You have to plan every move, every word, every setting. Everything you have to think ahead and actually plan and do it. But yes, leading from the front can be done in many ways.
Okay. So you have an event planned or something like that. You've got to really plan for it, right? I mean, your speeches, the way you're going to inspire the people.
Where are you going to come from?
Yes.
Where are you going to stand?
And probably put yourself in their shoes and, address them in that manner.
Yes. I will see as just as an aside, the higher you go, the lesser you speak, right? The lesser instructions you give. Because the higher you go, you will have a larger organization under you. The higher you go, in the large organization under you, you will have many seniors.
Already systems are in place.
Yeah, in place. You don't have to speak much. So I will just tell you, normally when we take over a ship or a unit, we have this parade in the morning where you take over. Then the old captain is seen off very ceremonially. After some books are signed and all the secret books, and there are some keys and there are some fundamental things that are there's some handing over, taking over, and then he goes away. Then the standard thing is you go and speak to the officers. You lay out a vision. You speak to sailors. They lay out your vision. Then you come back to your cabin. Captains live alone, right? That's how it is. Now, in my last appointment, which is INS Venduruthi, the largest unit of the Indian Navy. Now, we directly and indirectly, we are administering about 30,000 people. There is nothing in the state which can move without Venduruthi's finger being somewhere there. So now this I took over. There's a parade in the morning. Here is the first time I did not address officers, sailors separately. I just asked for everyone to be mustered in the basketball court behind my office. I went there and then I asked for a chair. So they thought that probably this Commodore is medical category, so you may not be able to stand also, You expect such things at that age. The chair was for me to stand on. Okay. I stood on the chair, climbed on the chair. Because and then called everybody in. They were in a very formal half rectangle and all like that. So called everybody in, come close, and I will tell you what exactly I spoke. I said this, assuming command of this unit is a matter of great pride for me. It's big. So I really love it. I have not much of advice to tell you. Only 2 things I'll tell you. I said there was once I was staff officer to a CNC Commander-in-Chief, who later became the Chief of the Navy. I was with him, and when I was with him, on one particular occasion, I came in contact with a certain civilian functionary who had held very, very senior positions in India. So on the way back in the flight, in our first aircraft, I asked the Admiral, "Sir, how does someone like that run such huge organizations, like a state or maybe a ministry and all that thing?" He said, "Look, it's like this. You need to remember only 2 things. One is that you must realize that you can never ever take any decision which will please everyone. Take decisions which will be of benefit to the majority. Second, do not do anything for your own pocket. That is higher leadership, because these big systems don't have to be run. They will run. They will run on their own, right? So senior leadership doesn't have to do that. They just have to look after this fundamental one. Second, I said, in this movie, Satish Shah died, I think, day before yesterday. Yeah. There is this movie, Jaane Vi Do Yaro. I think he's there in that. I don't know if he's there in that, but Naseeruddin Shah and Ravi Vaswani.
Yeah.
Now they are young photographers, out of work, hungry. And this guy Naseeruddin Shah goes to Satish Shah's house, cooperator, to discuss something. Actually, he's gone to get some tea and eats. And outside an open window, in the bushes, Ravi Vaswani is hiding. Now whatever he takes to eat, he'll eat half and throw the other half through the window. So the cooperator, Satish Shah, asks him, why do you do this? He says, "Saab, ye mera life ka philosophy hai. Thoda khao, thoda phinko." Okay. Now, so I told him, in a big unit like Venduruthi, you cannot hold everything. You cannot control everything. So let people live. You control what is important. Let people live. Otherwise, nothing more to say. Wish you all the very best. Many senior sailors came and told me, sir, we have heard so many speeches in our lives, but never got such a clear vision. We are a support agency. Every logistic and administrative thing in the state we are supposed to give. And we'll support everybody. Right? There's nothing much. Just let people do their jobs. Don't be overbearing. Don't get into their nitty-gritty. We just fundamentally
so
just
there's no need for micromanagement at all. Just oversee.
So at every level, leadership is different.
I think you've knocked it on its head. The leadership at senior levels. It matters. I think there are two things that I wanted to talk about. One is this relief operation itself during the, very unfortunate event of the tsunami. Is there any stories that stand out to you even now when you think back on that? I know it must have been a lot of communication, deployment, and then, getting the boats loaded. And how did that operation actually happen?
I'll just give a very short prelude to that, introduction to that. This happened in 2004, Christmas Eve, and the Indian Navy actually was the first to react in this part of the world. We reacted faster than the Americans in Diego Garcia. This is the time when India herself had been hit on the east coast and south.
That's right.
We had lost people and property. So in the course of the next, I think, 1 month, 41 ships sailed, supporting Indonesia, Maldives, and Sri Lanka. Our ships were the ones which opened up ports. The Americans had not reacted. This particular event actually led to two important things. One is that the national disaster management system actually came up after this. Second, the Indian Navy and India's role as a big power in this region actually went up because of this event. Okay, so that's the perspective. Okay, now I went to that place after I did not go there in the first 48 hours. I went there in the second phase. Second phase is, that means the bodies have been looked after. Now the people are still shell shocked as to what has happened. And then now you're gone for rehabilitation. Right? So in the 15 days that we were there, we worked in an area of about 900 square kilometers, where we would set up IDP camps, internally displaced people. You don't call them refugees. Within your own country, they call IDPs. You set up IDP camps. Now, how you do it is, the government tells you to, they look at, when...
No, you were communicating with the Sri Lankan government?
Very much.
Or the Indian government was communicating with Sri Lanka? You would do the communication.
Once you go there, you're on your own. You're with them.
Right. Okay.
You're there. You come for them. You don't have to go back to Indian government or anything like that.
You send them communication, we're coming, and then they will guide you from the head.
So I have gone and met the Admiral, Vasanta Tanakun, and he says that, do your best. Okay. Immediately, they have the Navy, the Sri Lankan Navy has got a coordination team. Then a Commodore was there at that time. Our team goes there to find out what's happening. What all we need to do now, because you are getting into a running activity. Now there is like what we call a collector here. They call the government agent, GA, and he runs the Southern Council. The Southern Council is it's like the state secretariat or whatever, that council. There you have NGOs sitting there. Our own NGOs, Indian NGOs have landed up there. So there's a whole team now helping, because the locals have all trauma stricken, because many of them would have lost property or near and dear and all that thing.
Yeah.
Then there are other foreign countries. When we were there, the Americans were there, the Austrians were there.
Oh.
Yeah, they were there, and they were there with their own forces and all that thing. This whole thing has to be coordinated.
Yes.
Right? So in the council, in the Southern Council, in the southern area, it's called Southern Region Council. This thing was being done by a group of a small team which had volunteers, international volunteers also. Now I have a licensed team with that. I have a licensed team with the Navy. The Navy and they are in coordination. And we are told now to do certain things. Now, what is that? Now, when property was destroyed, the property documents are also destroyed. Even in the registrar's office would have gone. So your land documents are gone. They have to do fresh survey to figure out whose house was where, right? And a fundamental thing. So the government would actually tell us to make these IDP camps in only original government establishments. With that, they know surely is government land. You can't go and build it in somebody's property. Actually, a side story there. Why you have these centers where food is distributed. Mostly children I saw coming there to pick up. Why? The parents are sitting on their property.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Okay,
right.
Trying to say salvage maybe ornaments or whatever was there.
Yeah, everything is washed out.
They're sitting on heaps of their houses. Okay, and children go out to actually buy. So when a resurvey comes, you have to ensure that you are there. Otherwise, your property will get surveyed by somebody else.
Okay.
So now you're there. So they tell you to build up camps. So there's a place called, like one of the camps, we set up 6 camps. One of the camps that we set up was in a place called Telavatta. Telavatta is the place where the world's greatest train tragedy took place. There's a train called the Arabian Queen. It comes from Colombo to Mathura. So it had stopped at this, when the first wave came in, this train was stopped in this place called Telavatta railway station. And the crowds ran with their children and their parents and all that thing. They found this train. Now, who would expect anything more solid than a train to protect? So they put their kids and families in that. The next wave killed everybody in that train. But 1,500 people lost their lives in Telavatta. So so there were buildings that were all flattened. So we were told to actually work there. There's one of the sites that we got. Every site was not like this. So there is this auditorium or something there. So we actually cleared the rubble. Then, there were 2 companies of army, Madras sappers there. Okay. They were put under my command. Now they know they are civil engineers.
Yes.
Our people are only working party. So someone may be a missile expert or a torpedo expert, but their job is to dig a toilet pit. Okay. It's got nothing to do with the specialization. You are just another hand, right?
So your main job was to set up these IRDs.
Yes. IDP camps.
IDB, sorry.
IDP, indefinitely displaced people. Yeah.
The camps would look after the supplies and everything else.
No. Okay, I'm coming to that. So now you set up the IDP camp. The government gives you the tents and all that. Tents are coming from international agencies are giving you. So you pitch the clear land, pitch that. Then you set up a community. They expected some time they are going to stay because it's going to sorting them out and building housing and all going to take years. So we actually built those the toilets with the pits for the thing. We were told for 5 years.
Oh.
So that's the size of the pit. Right?
Okay.
So now community halls and they move in. Now rations for them. Initially, rations of course the government would give. Their government would give. And we also give our rations. How we give our rations is, see, every warship is a great asset. Every warship carries 60 days of dry rations for the crew. So about 300 people if they're there. Imagine 60 days of rice, wheat, all dry provisions. 15 days of fresh rations, eggs, milk, vegetables, fruits and all that thing. And a whole lot of other things actually meant for the crew. And a warship, frigate and above, has got every specialization. You have people who can do carpentry, welding, cutting, you name it. Every trade is on board. That's why a warship, a frigate and above, is a wonderful asset to send anywhere. They can look after anything. So when we landed up there, we also landed 5 tons of straightaway food. It went into the High Commission's kitty and they were distributing, they were helping. India was sending in other sources also. They were airlifting stuff. Now, many of these people didn't have utensils to cook with. So I found out that there is one Father Fernando of the Red Cross. Father Fernando had warehouses full of stuff from all over the world, but didn't have the wherewithal to distribute it. I went and met Father Fernando. I told him, Father, I will distribute it for you. And we started picking up his stuff and distributing it to people. So initially where cooked food was being given, now provisions are being given, they start cooking. And human life is so resilient. I mean, like a small plant growing up in the middle of a parched desert. Our life just grows. And so once you start supporting in a small ways like this, then goes on. Then there were, I remember a community. a community of a fishing village, which had completely got disrupted. And they were now in a school compound kind of a place. Now that is the place where we start giving cooked food. 10 days we supported them with cooked food. I ensured that every child ate one boiled egg every day. Because that's what we could ensure. So and there's no vegetarian. Nobody talks about these things in these kind of circumstances. They ate, and thereafter the government took over. We also relayed electric lines, water lines, and cleaned 800 wells. Now, what do you mean wells? Wells had all got filled with salt water. That's it. So we use our submersible pumps from our ships. Ships have got fantastic pumping out capability. Both fixed systems and portable systems. Because flooding is our ultimate enemy. Right? Yes. So we would get that. Pump out, water get filled in, pump out again. Then the health worker, government health worker, would put whatever the salts for purification. You pump out twice more and the well is ready. Our mechanics would repair fishing boat engines, their propellers, shafts, so that they can go back to fishing. We even actually repaired a Swiss's yacht, which was stuck there. He had got damaged. We repaired that also. So there's a whole lot of stuff that you do.
Yeah, we got it. It must have been so, encouraging and so endearing to see communities coming back to life and getting on with their activities.
I got hundreds of photographs still of lovely smiling faces.
So satisfying, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's very nice.
How many days or weeks or months did you spend there?
Only 2 weeks. But I was lucky. There was something else also that happened. Now, at the end of my tenure, India was closing down its operation there. And President Chandrika Kumaratunge wanted to personally thank the Indian Armed Forces. So she asked for 2 ships to be sent to her, 1 ship to be sent to her in Colombo. So Mrs. Nirupama Rao came down to Gaul, and we had a small felicitation ceremony where I took that award from the council. And then she had lunch on board. We brought the governor and everybody on board. The public came on board. Then she spoke to our sailors. And then there she came to know that the ship has to go to Colombo. So she told me, come to Colombo. So I sailed in the night, went to Colombo the next day. But Chandrika Kumaratunga, she had lost her eye, one eye from the terrorist attack and all that thing. High security. I was told that only I can go and meet her. I declined. I said, so I'm not going. I will go if my officers and sailors are coming with me. So there was this negotiation. And finally they got approval for 20 sailors and 5 officers and me. 26 people to go there. So we went there. She spent 4 hours with us in her palace. She took individual photographs with every sailor and officer. And she was so gracious. And she spoke to us at length, treated us very well, and thanked us really profusely from her heart and sent us. Now, that was very nice ending to the whole thing for India as a country, for the Indian Navy as a force.
And probably one of your most, the fond memories and another peak of your achievements, to be honest.
I still look forward to going back to Gaul.
Right. So, can you share a story from your early sea time that taught you to separate your ego from the mission? I mean, we'll go back to a little bit about your own challenges along the way. Some story at the sea where, you had to separate your ego from your mission.
No.
I'm sure that would have happened at some point of time.
No, it doesn't happen. I'll tell you why. But the first thing that the academy does to you is to take out your ego.
Okay.
It doesn't exist.
Completely squashed.
Because you have to be a leader when you're a lead.
Ajay.
And a team member when you're a member. You're not always leading. Even you may be the senior most, but you're not the leader. There are situations like that. I will tell you how. For instance, that sounds improbable. Suppose we are holding a large function. As the unit head, as the commanding officer, you have planned with your team, and now you are at the site where the function is on. Now you're deputy,
right? Yeah,
or one of those who have been entrusted with this job. Now he's performing. No, you don't go and put your finger into that. Now you just keep it.
Okay.
You already, as a leader, done your job. Planned the thing and entrusted the job to somebody. While standing there, if you have a different opinion, just keep quiet. Because we'll upset the whole thing, right? But otherwise, ego as a thing is the first thing the academy removes.
Right, sir. So, another thing which came about when you were talking about your previous experiences that, for 2 months you were away from family, you don't know what exactly is happening at the home front. And what are the dynamics? What are the levels of communication? Really would be interested to know more about that.
I don't know if you noticed that I breathed heavily a little bit when you asked me that question. Okay. I really miss the childhood of both my children. Okay. The initial years. And that was the time I was flying. And then I was doing an anti course and all that thing. And I was at sea. So his 2-3 years, for that first 2-3 years, no, went in a blur. No, and you're not at home. Wife managed everything. Everything. And daughter's case also, I was with an admiral at that time. Very tough job. 2.5, 3.5 years. I was not there really. And wife looked after everything. Now, in the flying days, say, just an example, it's just that it's there in every branch. I'm just taking a flying example. Normally, you fly the whole week. And by Friday, all the defects of Ares aircraft will be all lined up. On Saturday, the engineers will work on it.
Okay.
And they will do some ground runs and all that thing, for which the aircrew are required. Next day, Sunday, you'll do check flights and all that thing. Again, aircrew are required. Monday, you're back to square one. You start flying again. So you suppose you call somebody home for dinner, guests for home on Saturday or Sunday. Just when you're about to start, a call will come. Hey, there's flying. You go. Now, the family will look after, of course. They will look after. Now, many years later, in 2009, when I came to command Tir back in Cochin. So when I was flying, in those days, the seeking helicopters were based in Cochin. So we are flying from there only. Even when we had to embark the aircraft carriers, Virat and Vikrant, we would fly from Cochin and go and embark and come back to Cochin where our families were. So, 2009, when we are out on a walk, the helicopters flying as usual. And I remember our daughter and wife were there. And I remember them saying that, in those days, when we would be sitting there with the guests whom you have invited, and you were not there for the dinner, we would do, and when the aircraft are flying overhead, you say, Dad must be probably in that or in that. So that's when, really, I would like to actually fool myself, at least, with the comfort myself with this interpretation that possibly they were actually proud of my absence and not sad because of my absence. I say this with a lot of responsibility because I hope that someone listening to me also takes life like that. Because this was beyond your control. And there are many fond things that you should have had. You should have had the pleasure of enjoying. And but you couldn't. So what do? Those are cards dealt to you by life. So you got to take it, you got to play with cards dealt. So this is just an interpretation that I comfort myself today. I pass on to audiences saying that, yes, my family were proud of my absence, not sad because of my absence. So just go ahead and do your duty.
But I'm sure that they also learned a lot of anti-fragility and resilience because of your...
Absolutely.
And they are better off because of your absence in terms of how they dealt with life and what,
service wives,
cards that they were dealt with.
Service wives, whether it's Jawan's wives, soldiers' wives, officers' wives, are an absolutely different lot. They can handle everything. I mean, we in our 30 years of marriage, as married, we are 30 years in the service of my 36. We moved about 32 or 33 houses. Packing was done by wife.
So they also have to get used to the nomadic life, adaptation to the new environment.
Children, they were shifting schools. Son did class 6 and class 10 in 3 places. He started in Bombay, continued in Delhi, finished in Vizag in 10th. Right? So, but nothing happened because you have the Navy public school, Navy school, every Navy children's school it's called now. And so when they go to a new school, they will meet their old friends. Someone who was with them in class 2 or somebody who was with them in class 8. The same gang moving around.
No, I think it's a lot of, I think it's a sort of a win-win situation in a way for, for the entire family. I shouldn't be putting it as win-win, but I'm sure they learn a lot of traits as well.
Yes. Lots of pluses.
So, just one more question about the army life before we go on to your corporate life. What does composure under stress look like in real life? I mean, not just staying calm, but radiating that steadiness to those around you. Okay. I mean, any situation of crisis where you had to put up again that act of composure.
There is, actually one doesn't need enemy to bring out all these challenges and all that thing. So, say again, flying. If you're flying, there is gravity all the time to get you. You take any warship. If you're a submarine, you have depth.
Yes.
If you're on a ship, say 120, 140 meters long, about 6,000 tons or 4,000 tons, about 2-3 stories underwater. It's got so much of thousands of tons of explosives, rotating and reciprocating engines. There's so much of heat. Hundreds of kilometers of cables taking diesel, aviation fuel, high, superheated steam, hydraulic oils. I mean, just about, it's like a bomb actually. It's like a bomb. Every ship or a submarine, right? Now you're functioning within that, right? Now, so danger, you don't need anybody else. The danger is there. Now, a ship, say, simply leaving harbor or entering harbor, going and parking on the jetty, going alongside, we call it. Imagine it's a 4,000-ton ship coming and just touching you slowly. You'll break a lot of stuff. The damage is too much. When you at sea, we go next to a tanker, naval tanker, come as close as 60 yards, and you're moving at 30 kilometers per hour speed, and you're transferring fuel. Fuel, water, ammunition, food, anything you can transfer. This goes on for hours. If there's a collision, imagine what will happen. If the ships actually spread out a little bit, if any of these hoses part, they'll come like a whiplash and cut through people. They will cut through people like, a hot knife cutting through butter, right? These are all live dangers all the time. And the captain and his officers and the sailors are all managing this.
Yeah. So much of precision involved, isn't it?
There is some luck also involved. Okay. A lot of personal competence involved, dedication involved. Now, why I said all this is because, say, when I was Taragiri again, the second ship, I had this navigating officer called Mukherjee. He's now a Commodore. Mukherjee goes around telling people that the first time when we're leaving harbor, the Taragiri, I mean, the morning I took over, the old captain went away, we had lunch, and in the evening I sailed. Sailed. I didn't even know anybody on board. I don't even know them. And we sailed. He says, this captain used to keep singing songs. I mean, I used to keep singing while, its entire thing is in your hand of taking the ship safely out of harbor, taking it safely back in. It's extremely challenging, very dangerous, and there's so much of tension. And he said the captain was singing. I was singing to hide my nervousness. You think I'm Superman or something? Just another human being. Fear is there. All the time fear is there. But you learn to have the confidence to work over your fear. You don't even think about it actually. You are confident about your training. You're confident about the system. You're confident about everyone's competence. And that's what actually helps you do this. So in that case, I was actually nervous like hell. That's why I would always sing even when I'm...
So that was one of your defense mechanisms.
Yeah, that is just to show my... that's my defense
Composure.
mechanism. Just to hide my own problem.
Interesting. Music is certainly a, calming...
Yeah.
So now coming to your corporate leadership, 36 years in the armed forces, and then after retirement, what were your thought processes before you started your corporate life? How did that transition happen from that sort of an environment to a corporate environment? And you just became the VP and the head of the Odisha Works, running end-to-end operations. Maybe you could tell us about what kind of translated directly from the Navy. What was different about the corporate world, and what did you unlearn and relearn in this transition?
Actually, I wouldn't want to unlearn anything that I learned in the Navy.
Yes.
Okay, I wouldn't want to unlearn anything because that is perfectly fit for that. But a fundamental difference was this. There in the Navy, there is no bottom line. The bottom line was the country, the mission. Not even the country. I won't go as lofty as that. It's just the mission, what you have to do. That is your bottom line. Do not profit. Right? Now, in the corporate world, when I went there, I learned from my employees this dictum. Don't love your company, love your job. Okay? And you never knew who's going to desert you when. Someone who wished you good morning in the morning will in the evening come with a beautifully written resignation letter because he's got some couple of, some better off offers in some other company. Now, when I joined there, the factories and boilers department, they look after safety. They realized that, I'm moderately good at speaking. So I became one of their favorite speakers. So in one of the seminars, I told them that, look, we had about 400, 500 safety officers of various companies sitting. I was in the industrial heartland of Orissa, so all the big plants were there. Everyone was there. So there were hundreds of them sitting there, safety officers. And I said this. I said, look, you all are doing same job in different companies. You're doing, through your career of say 35 years or 40 years or whatever you do, you're doing the same job in different companies. Whereas people like me and these people in this factories and boilers department, we are doing different jobs in the same company for 35 years. So when you're in the same company for 35 years, you can actually have an ethos. that's got some value, right? Because if you don't fit into the ethos, then you get pushed out, or for anything else. In the other system, I today find it that it's how tough it is for any corporate to have a company ethos or anything like that. There's no company ethos. Where is the scope? Because the people under you are not likely to be under you tomorrow, day after tomorrow. They could go anytime, and just about anybody could be coming in all the time. Anybody could be going out of the company. It's a moving crowd in the company. How can the company have an ethos? So, and next thing, the bottom line, it's profit. I mean, the company to do well. When that gets affected, a lot of things get affected at the management level. So, which does not happen in the armed forces. And I'm sure you understand what I'm trying to say.
No,
but I don't want to expand further on that. Yeah. But yes, it's the fundamental thing is what's your bottom line? Well, your bottom line, what is it?
Was
Profit?
it easy for you, the transition?
Yes, for me, the transition is very easy. It's like this. See, there is a defect that the armed forces can have. You know what is that? That is to see everything in black and white. Because right from your NCC days, you were taught, dost ya dushman. Okay, I mean, friend or enemy, good or bad, to kill or not to kill, ill-worthy, not kill-worthy. It is a functional requirement to quickly make a decision. Because you chose wrong, you would be the one getting killed than the other fellow, right? But the world is not like that. The world is shades of grey. Unless one builds up on one's own efforts to understand the shades of grey, through whatever method you do, one can't really fit into the CV world. And if you have read enough, if you have watched enough and seen enough, you know that you don't expect exactly what you saw in the armed forces outside. So you can adapt accordingly. So I just asked for trust and I got a lot of it.
So were there any skill gaps for veterans like you who joined the business roles and profit and loss sort of segment? Were there any gaps that you had to, I mean, obviously there would have been some training, but were there any stark gaps that you had to fill?
Not really. Because unlike, say, in the corporate world, suppose someone joins as an HR, throughout his life he does HR only. When does he ever become a unit head? When he becomes a unit head, what does he know about finance and what does he know about technical? What does he know about, administration? You do a lot of things he won't know, right? But in the armed forces, you have a life where you have a mix of shore and sea. Mm-hmm. You have a mix of training jobs, administrative jobs, planning jobs, operational jobs. All this you do in every rank as you go up. So, I mean, when I became commanding officer at the age of 33 for the first ship of 9, I already had an exposure to every part of the ship. Nothing was foreign to me. So you grow up like that. So once, say, I went to a power plant actually. A power plant was a steam engine. I've been on many steamships. It's the same chain there. What is so very different about it?
Yeah.
Nothing else. Yeah. And as far as melting was concerned, that is the ferroalloys, I took it that, 2000 years before Christ, I think man was melting metal. So there's nothing great about it. But otherwise, you are exposed to everything. Except maybe sales.
It's easier for veterans to.
It's very easy to fit in. Yeah, very easy to fit in. But may not be easy to stay. But to stick, it's easy to fit in.
Okay, interesting. Again, coming back to security and protecting our nation, you've spoken about deterrence as a promise of pain. Now, and for the listeners who are unfamiliar to the term, what does that mean and how does it keep conflicts from starting? Also, is Indian sort of armed force actually equipped for roles of deterrence?
Okay, you said it right. The main job of the armed forces is to deter war. So war doesn't happen. Because war happens, it sets back the country by, even if you win. I mean, if you must win. If you win also, you are set back by decades of progress, right? Now, but national security, till the end of the Second World War, and maybe into the 60s, always was viewed through the prism of armed forces, right? But after that, the world has changed. If there is massive hunger, if there is pestilence, if there is epidemic, those are all actually dangers to national security, right? So today, national security is viewed from the overall dangers to every part of society, right? Not just to the armed forces. Now, deterrence actually comes from the national level. It's not if I have to deter you from hitting me, it's not my hands and legs alone that have to do that job.
The Home Ministry, the defense.
My brain has to do it. My eyes, the very looks of me one look from me and you should not be thinking of messing with me, right? So it's a national effort. Deterrence is a national effort. It's the promise of pain from various angles. And when everything fails, the last is the military. Because once that is used, you have to win. Because that's the last resort. But you don't resort to that as the first resort. I mean, that's not the first choice. That's the last choice. You try everything else: diplomacy, technology, leadership, and financial negotiations, and all other things. And the military is the final one. When everything fails, the military has to come into the picture and win it for you. Okay, so the deterrent is actually an entire national attribute. It's national strength that brings it.
Thank you. Thanks for explaining that term. And what is an escalation ladder, and how do leaders use it to respond step by step in a crisis without tipping into war? Can you give us a simple example? Escalation of.
Yeah, escalation ladder is using everything that you have under your power in a gradated manner. You don't use your strongest weapon first. You just use your lightest ones, right? So I think we went through the last answer that you do diplomacy at the bilateral level. Doesn't work, you try multilateral. Then you bring on international fora which can interfere. Nothing happens, then you give a little of economic pain. If that doesn't work, then you give a bit of maybe technology pain, or affect get some pain by working with the friends of the enemy, okay, to ensure that they don't support. If that fails, then why don't you, it's everything is fair in war, you support the enemy's enemy, that also works. At the end of it, nothing happens, then you go into weapons. That's the generic answer I would actually like to give in this. And even when it comes to weaponry, conventional weapons first, and then of course then the ultimate things.
So for a 20-year-old who's choosing between armed forces, civil service, and a private sector, what reflection framework would you recommend? How do they have to, sort of decide on which sort of branch to take, and how to figure out their weaknesses, strengths, etc., to determine what would suit them best?
Yeah, very tough question. Recently I was I did 2 days of workshops for them to face interviews and things like that for the 6th, 7th semester children. And I saw I just saw one more manifestation, one more example of how today's youth actually are poised. They're brilliant students. But then there is a lot of confusion as to what ahead in life.
Yes, absolutely.
What ahead in life. Yeah, so yeah, so the essence of what we told students there was that you have now landed up in engineering. I mean, I asked it actually when I had the entire lot in front of me. I asked them, how many of you want to become doctors? Some hands went up. How many want to join the armed forces? Some hands went up. Okay. I said, how many of you are here because your engineering was chosen by your parents? Many hands went up. I said, how many would not like to be here? Many hands went up. Right? Then I said, okay, fine. Now you get life deals cards. You got these cards in your hand. You got 3 choices. One is to fold and play scoot and wait for the next set of cards, which may not come. Next is that you look at the cards carefully and play. Third is there's another method called playing blind. There's a method of playing, just ride your luck. So it's just you got to look at your cards. You have landed up here. This is where you are. And now you got to take a choice. There are many professions open in front of you. What does your heart want? Seek out advice on that. There are many who want to join the armed forces. So we spoke to them. Said it's possible. They didn't even know that it's possible. Career counseling happens. But I know from my practical experience now, having involved myself with thousands and thousands of students in all kind of institutions, that there is still confusion. If parents are unable to advise, there is so much of confusion as to what is going to work and what is not going to work. Absolutely. So, and with AI coming in, with the automation all the time, been for some time, with jobs disappearing, with entire professions maybe standing the danger of disappearing, what do you tell the children? So, what I tell young audiences is that, you just learn skills which are useful to anywhere, like creativity, resilience, the ability to take disappointment in your stride, any extra talent that you have, whether it is singing or writing or a good handwriting, you name it, nurture it. You never know whether your bread tomorrow is going to come from that. M.F. Hussain, a few paint strokes from him was worth crores, and he never went to school, right? So everyone can't become an M.F. Hussain, but something or the other you can become. If you don't have these things, and if you're fixed on one path and that path doesn't exist or it stops somewhere, you won't know what to do. You'll be destroyed. So you have to make yourself resilient to go wherever you're willing to go. I know many, many examples where people have switched streams, into their 40s, in their 50s, and done very, very well. And at the end of the day, it's extremely important to have a sense of philosophy because life requires it. Without it, you can't survive. I tell them about the Mahabharata, the TV serial, in those kind of battles, you put your hand behind, take out an arrow and fire. Now, every arrow there is not the same. They're all different arrows. In life, you need a lot of arrows. Now, who will put those arrows in your quiver? You have to put it through reading, through interaction, through contemplation. You have to put it there and use it because you have no clue. I don't think anyone has any clue what lies ahead. Now, this is the kind of perspective I try to give. When I tell them that you got to start at a younger age and you actually work on young parents, you have to work on young teachers. There's that entire ecosystem actually needs some
direction. Yeah, not everybody can be a polymath like you either. Having so many different, facets to your personality. You sing, you podcast, you blog, you write, you record albums, and you teach leadership at colleges. You teach, I think, other than leadership, you also teach about communication.
Yeah, communication.
So you got plenty of facets that you have.
And then the wife
those are your
wife finds you a complete madman also.
Again, in this volatile, uncertain, ambiguous world, challenging world, it's very important to have all these skills.
I went from helicopters to ships to ferroalloys to thermal power to now a studio, production house in Bangalore. They're all different. I was just lucky.
North and South.
I was just lucky, but I didn't.
True, sir. So if you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
To me as a
younger self.
Just don't change.
Just don't change.
Yeah, just don't change. I was very happy.
Be yourself.
I'm very happy where whatever I have done, not done. First of all, by regretting it, nothing is going to change.
Yes.
Right? It's only going to spoil my mood, and so it's very good. In every circumstance, I did what I thought was right. Right? What else can I do? So there is nothing perfect in this world, and the advice to myself is that change nothing.
That's cool advice. And what are you working on now, sir? What is your current passion? Consulting, mentoring, or other initiatives that young professionals should know about?
Yes. See, I've been speaking for about 30 years now and writing. And recently I formed a company with two more friends of mine, naval officers. And we are now into the entire spectrum of training. Entire spectrum. From my own lectures were actually from national security, all the way down to motivation and leadership, and including a lovely talk for children called The Joys of Reading. Okay, simple joys of reading. And everything conveyed only through stories. Nothing, there's no theory. Everything is stories. And recently we formed a company also called Great Vision Learning. And
Great Vision
Learning. And now I've added even industrial security and leadership and all that thing. Leadership was always there. Industrial security, corporate leadership. Those are all. It's a huge canvas that we have got. Other than that, I'm continuing to write. I continue to read. My Twitter profile says, spread cheer, not hate. Stay in own domain. Read. That's it. You do. The world is such a nice place, but we unnecessarily put trouble into that from our side. I think we just let things be. Just look after yourself. Don't create trouble from your side. The world will go on well if everyone has this outlook.
So what do you see as the biggest challenges facing India's youth today, sir? And how do you see India shaping up in the future?
Okay. India once, just 200 years back, India was producing about 25% of the world's GDP, the world's wealth. Today, we produce about 5% of it. Right? So how did that fall happen? That fall happened because of the European colonialism. That's what happened. Right? In a fast industrializing world, we were left unindustrialized. right? And we are busy catching up. Okay. Now, what made us produce 25% of the world's GDP 200 years back? Those are our strengths given by God. Our location, our geography, our natural resources, our weather, our demographics, where we are. That's what made us capable of producing those 25% of the world's GDP, right? 200 years ago. Those advantages still persist. They are there. Our multiculturality, our thousands of years of experience of handling the world, interacting with the world, those are our strengths. And if we really work on our strengths, the future is India's. That's one side of it. On the other side, let's go back to the demographics. Yes, today we sit on the largest number of youth in the world, I understand. But if this youth is not prepared adequately for the life ahead, they are the resource for this country to go to greater heights. Yes. If the educational system, their personal qualities, their emotional abilities, their physical abilities, their knowledge systems are all very important. It's very important to nurture all that. Now, when we were in school, we were in Sainik school, our teachers would say that one must always have a scientific bent of mind. When you say scientific bent of mind, what they insisted on, what they meant was that you must question everything. You must have critical thinking. You must gain knowledge from all around, through reading, through contemplation, through consultation, just about to experimentation, just about anything. It's not just some ready-made stuff given to you. Yeah. Now, they would also say that while you should have a scientific bent of mind, the world is not run by sciences. The world is run by humanities. Science is just a facilitator. If you open a newspaper, you would not find physics, chemistry, maths there. You would find economics, you would find faith, you would find religion, you will find social problems. So that's humanities. That's what runs this world. Now, at least as a passion, people must follow that and not just blindly go after sciences. The country has to ensure that they have adequate, representation of all this in the curricula that's put out to students and their opportunities. So I think unless we skill our this 40% or whatever is that of our population, which is youth, and prepare them, give them the facilities, give them the conditions for growing into useful citizens for the future, we may not, realize our potential. But our potential is great. But the time to act is now. Because 10 years you sit on this like this, and then probably the demographics will pass, the advantage will pass, and someone else in this world will take our place.
Very, very insightful indeed. So the time is now for all of us to act in unison. Wonderful. So some rapid fire questions now. One leadership principle you never compromise on. Trust.
Trust, yeah. Ultimate.
Perfect. The most underrated quality in a leader.
Honesty.
A book or idea that's influencing you right now.
I'm influencing is different, and what I'm reading is different. I'm reading a fantastic book called Master Mariner. The Master Mariner is written by my school classmate, my NDA course mate, retired Colonel Thomas Kutty Joseph. His father was the captain of MV Kairali, a merchant ship owned by the state Kerala government, which disappeared in 1977, 4 days after the ship left Goa with iron ore meant for Germany. The ship just went missing. Yeah, it's the first instance of a major loss like that. It's a big mystery how the ship was lost with not a signal coming
Arabian
out.
Sea.
Arabian Sea. 4 days out of Goa, headed for Aden, where they're going to fuel up and then go through the Suez Canal into Germany. Ship was lost without a trace. So the captain's son is Thomas Kutty Joseph. He wrote this book called The Master Mariner because he had a wonderful service that a rural young man who goes to become a priest, then finds that is not his way, comes back, joins the Indian Navy, gets thrown out because of the naval mutiny of 1946 or something, when the Navy mutiny happened before independence. Then they were all sent out of service. Now he wanted to live life, so he changed his name and now joined the Merchant Navy, Dufferin, and from there he became a Merchant Navy captain. sailed for many years. And finally, the Kerala government bought its first ship and made him its captain, and the ship disappeared. It was launched with a great fanfare recently, and the movie with, I understand, Mohanlal as that was also announced by the director the day the book was released in Cochin last month. So it's my classmate's book. I'm reading that, and I have been part of him all his life. So that is what I'm reading. But what is influencing is currently it is *Sapiens* by Yuval Noah Harari.
One word of advice for someone stepping into their first command.
First command. Enjoy your command. Seriously, that's the best advice. Enjoy your command. It's the ultimate gift the service has given you. Just make the most of it.
Right. And one really all-time favorite song of yours.
Oh, yeah, okay. And then it's unknown, lesser-known Malayalam song. Because that's the first one which got me a major prize.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is. It's from a movie called Panidiraatha Veeda, means in a house which never stops. It's incomplete forever. Okay.
And in closing, is there a question we didn't ask you that you wish more people would?
Maybe you would have. I normally a question that comes up is about fear. Weren't you scared?
Yes.
Kind. Okay. Yeah. And yes, we were. Okay. If anyone says that he was not scared, is fooling. Okay. It's there at the back of your mind all the time, right? But then you don't have time to think about fear. You just work over it. It doesn't exist. Because you're so confident about your training, your equipment, your system, your support, the entire ecosystem, that you don't even think about it. If you really think about it, you can't do a single job in the armed forces. Anyone who's simply manning a rope, if he thinks about what that rope can do, if it parts, how can you hold the rope? But it doesn't. You trust everyone to be competent, everyone to do his job, and he expects the captain to control the ship's engines properly so that he can handle that rope with confidence. He never gives one eye to the captain already checking whether he's doing things right. No. It's one huge system in which everyone is competent and you're confident about everybody else's competence. Hence, you have a lot of confidence in your own life.
Lovely. That's amazing, sir. And before we wrap up, let's highlight just what we just covered. Leading through crisis, how to make decisions when there is no playbook, the real cost of command, what it takes to carry responsibilities of lives and missions, transitioning from uniform to the boardroom, and what exactly transfers, what kind of, systems fall into place from the naval, background. Building trust in teams and how team is the most important thing for a naval officer, and loyalty to the team through action, not just words. And what young leaders get wrong and how to course correct early, and how the Indian demographics have to shape themselves out today. There's no time to be wasted in order to reach our nation's potential. Commodore Prakash, sir, thank you so much for your valuable time and insights. That was powerful and exactly what we needed to hear. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It's an absolute pleasure talking to you. There was, if I have to again end with a story, there was a time when the army, the armed forces, was everyone. When the king wanted them to fight, they left their jobs and went to fight. If they were lucky to be alive, they came back to the professions. But then came the day of the musket, the arms. When arms came them, you had to be trained. If you had to be trained, then you could not be doing your basic professions. And now the people had to be moved for training. Now it's a fact that kingdoms get attacked when they're down and out. When when there's no food, there is pestilence. That's when you're weak and you can get hit. And that time you can't have an army which is not eaten. So that's the time the emperor had to feed the army also, and at the cost of the general public. I think somewhere around that time, the army became them from us. And from then, there is that growing disconnect with the armed forces and not enough understanding about them. And it's just that, shows like yours, talk like the way you handled it, is what brings, some more facets of the armed forces. It takes millions of such interviews to actually get the armed forces back into the public, because finally it is part of them, it is for them, it is from them. So thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, sir. I mean, this is an opportunity for us on behalf of all our listeners and the entire nation to thank you for your service And hats off to all the sacrifices that you've made along the way. We are not what we are today if not for all your sacrifices along the way. So hats off to you and the entire armed forces. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jai Hind.
If this conversation has helped you see leadership, resilience, and decision making in a new light, drop a comment telling us which moment hit you hardest. You can follow Commodore Prakash on LinkedIn. We'll drop a link in the description below. And if you're a student, young professional, or a veteran looking for mentorship, please reach out to him. A few takeaways to carry with you are: separate ego from mission. In fact, squash your ego. Build trust through consistency, not speeches. Resilience isn't about never failing. In fact, it's about getting back with lessons learned. It's about anti-fragility all the way. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to Luminary Lounge so you don't miss out on all our future episodes. And stay grounded, stay focused, and keep learning. Thank you very much.